Hello, welcome to the More Cheese Less Whiskers.com live podcast. My name is Dean Jackson, and today we're talking with Kurt Nielsen, who's a mortgage broker in Clackamas, Oregon, up near Portland. And Kurt's been in business for several years. He works with his wife, who's a real estate agent, and we've been working together for several years, and we'll talk all about the circumstances of how we started working together and how things, that we were doing then apply now. This is one of my favorite things to talk about. I've got so much experience in the real estate world, and it's really a great way to illustrate how the principles that we talk about, how the 8 profit activators and the before, during, and after units all work together, because I've got so many specific implementations of the profit activators in the real estate and mortgage industry. So we're going to work all the way from identifying a target audience all the way through to converting those people into clients. And I think you're really going to get a lot out of this episode. So enjoy.
Kurt Nielsen.
Dean Jackson, how are you doing today?
Fantastic. How are you?
I am fantastic also. How's weather down there in Florida?
Well, I'll tell you what, it's perfect.
Isn't it always, I hear? Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good for you. Well,
I'm excited that we're getting to do this. We've known each other for a long time, kind of reconnected here. And the way this works, I'm recording right now, got the whole hour to just hatch some evil schemes for you. And it'd probably be helpful for you to set the stage and tell a little bit about what you do and what kind of evil schemes we can hatch today.
Yeah, perfect. I am a mortgage broker. I live outside Portland, Oregon, in a little area, not a little area, but a pretty good-sized area known as Clackamas County, kind of southeast of Portland. And I help people get home loans, obviously. My wife, Shirley, is a real estate broker. We've both been in the business since about 2002. And I kind of look at both of our businesses as kind of one business in a way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm kind of the marketing division of both of our companies, so to speak. So I've kind of been the one over the years that has taken some great things that I've learned from you and put those to use, and have developed a nice business for the both of us. So
awesome.
We had a lot of good stuff going back in the mid 2000s, and 2008 hit, and with the mortgage and the housing crisis, and that obviously took a toll on our business. And we had recently refied into a higher payment 15-year loan, and the bottom dropped out of the market back then, and we were running kind of scared. And I had been following you for a few years, and started implementing a system, I believe it was called Finding Buyers, back in 2008. And it it literally saved our businesses. We just went to work.
Well,
and
I'll tell you what, that's a good example, Kurt, of like pivoting, adjusting to what the market is. And when everybody was riding high in the early 2000s, right? I mean, the market was doing nothing but going up. Prices were going up. Money was easy to get. It was like great times to be in the real estate and the mortgage business. And then, just like you said, the bottom fell out. But along with that came the blessing of the stimulus program that Obama put into place. And we hit the ground running with that program because at the time, they were offering an $8,500 tax credit for first-time home buyers, which is literally like they write you a check back for $8,500, and that was as good as free money, for first-time buyers. So you have to be ready to pivot where the market goes. And the people who were happy about the change in the market were first-time home buyers, certainly, who felt like they were never going to be able to get in the market because the prices had just taken off. And now prices are plummeting, so the people who didn't buy get another chance. And so we were able to put together that, the two things that really worked for that period of time right after was the tax credit guide. We did remember the guide that we did for first-time buyers for that, and we had our program Bank Owned Weekly, which was something that you really took to, and because the more and more people were having to give up their homes, so there was more bank-owned homes on the market, which was again great for first-time buyers. So that really, just like you, people who rather than wailing and crying about, well, the market's really changed, the people who embraced it like you did, we had a great opportunity there and made lemonade, as they say.
No question. It was really a brilliant program that you put together. And, I'm glad you brought up the pivot part, because that's kind of where I'm at right now. I mean, to be 100% transparent, I tend to sometimes overthink things, and in that respect, might end up complicating things a little bit. And I just kind of want to get a little tune up and make sure I'm firing on all 12 cylinders here. And, as Jay Abraham says, before you go running off doing anything too different, make sure you optimize what you already have.
Sure, so, exactly.
Kind of what I want to talk about today with you. So, just to back up a little bit, we've got this through your teachings. We have implemented the get response or direct response marketing, and we've created all these ads in Craigslist back in the day, where we would offer people a list of homes, and they would opt into this list of homes, and then we would send them the updated list weekly of the new homes that came on the market. Now, that was done. My wife did that. I had some other real estate agents that I had taught to do that, and they were bringing in the leads. And then, of course, when people come into the system as on a home buyer list, then I eventually began marketing my mortgage services to them, and that's worked very, very well. So, now we've got this list, a really nice list. And right now I'm just, going to be speaking about the list that my wife and I have together. Like I mentioned, I do have some other agents that have some lists and all that. So we've got I have a pretty extensive list that I can market to, but we've got this good sized list, and what's happening now, as you know, is that the market now is just experiencing this massive appreciation, and the Portland market, for the last 12 months, I think we've just been recently overtaken by Seattle, but the Portland market has been the fastest appreciating market in the country in the last 12 months. So
nice.
We've got this big list, but we're seeming to, and it's probably my fault because of the way of the kind of the ads that I've been placing, but we seem to be attracting a lot of people that, and no disrespect to them, but they're just, they can't come into the market where it is right now. So bottom line is, what I'd like to do is maybe look at crafting some different ads or some different programs to attract perhaps, maybe a higher end, some higher end clients, and
perfect.
Work on something like that.
So what would be ideal? What would be the high end for you? How would you describe that?
Yeah. As far as price is concerned, I mean, the average price in the Portland area right now is around 325, 350. I would say higher end would be, anything over 400.
Mm-hmm.
And so we looked at the statistics of the area that we typically market in here in Clackamas County, and about 25% of all the homes sold in the last 12 months have been in that category of 400 plus. So you're talking, basically 400 to 800,000 right in there.
Okay. And what would be kind of a common, element of those $400,000, $800,000 homes? Like, for example, here in Winter Haven, the highest end homes are lakefront homes. In Paradise Valley, the highest end homes are view homes. In South Beach, it's the oceanfront condos. What would be the thing in Portland? In your area there, would it be view homes in Happy Valley, or what would be?
Yeah, that's a good question. And my wife and I were kind of talking about that. It's a little bit of a unique area in that Clackamas County is kind of broken down into kind of three little subsets. You've got some smaller, subdivisions with the less expensive homes, and then you've got actually Happy Valley is the name of one of the most popular cities in Clackamas County. I don't know if you knew that.
I'm very familiar. I know the area.
Okay.
Well, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So, Happy Valley, another area called Damascus, that would be, but there's not necessarily a lakefront or a waterfront or a view type of thing. I mean, it would be almost like a person is either going to be interested in, a higher end home in Happy Valley, in a subdivision, or they're going to be interested in another subcategory they would be interested in a higher end home, which is more geared towards like acreage or, a farmhouse out in the country a little bit more. So I could kind of see that as two specific niche markets.
Of course. Yeah. Two different things. That whole, so let's talk about the country homes then, like the acreage. What would be, are there horse farms? Are there, just, how would they describe them? Ranches, estates? What would be?
Yeah. Horse farms wouldn't be out of the question. Estates wouldn't be out of the question. Typically, when people are contacting us, the main thing that we hear is they want some acreage. They want a couple acres, and a lot of them aren't even that concerned about, the home per se. They want a decent home. It doesn't have to be a big executive home. They want a decent home on, 5 acres. So I would say, Clackamas County acreage.
There you go. That sounds .com for sure. I mean, that's a great, right? There's a good start. If you were looking for acreage, that would be a great domain name to start with. Clackamas Acres, ClackamaSacreage.com.
Yeah. Got it.
Yeah. So if we start with that, the same, what you've learned is that the underlying formula, right? The girding for what was made your bank-owned weekly successful was that you've got a target audience, we've got an offer that gets them to raise their hand, and we've got a website that allows them to do that. So if we look at this thing, we're selecting our target market. How much would homes with 5 acres be in Clackamas? Are they on the higher end? Would they be?
Yeah, definitely 400 minimum, more closer to 5 likely.
Okay. So, and how many of them are there? Are there a lot of homes with acreage? I mean,
yes. Yeah, I'm not sure of the numbers, but there's a ton of them. Yes.
Okay, great. So it's a viable big market. How narrow? Like if we went down to horse farms as an example, would there be enough horse properties to make a sense of it? Like, is that a reason that people want acreage in Clackamas?
Yeah, I mean, that would definitely be, considered highly targeted for sure. But yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, a lot of people want the horse farms.
So it's viable. Yeah. Okay. So there's where I would start with that, like that. And horse farms are probably, because if they've got a barn, do you have ones that have indoor arenas, like riding arenas and stuff like that? Like they can get up into the highest of the high end,
Yes.
Is that the kind of thing? Do you, just in your experience, do you see people with, do you see homes that have that kind of thing, like with stables and with, arenas or, jump courses and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there's quite a few of those. There's quite a few of those out here. I mean, not, obviously not as many as just, a nice home sitting on some acreage, but you bet there's quite a few of those out here.
Okay.
Yep.
And then that's a good start. So what I would look to do is I would look for a market like that I could dominate, and by dominate, I mean, go into it with this mindset that you're going to get all of it.
Mm-hmm.
I read a book, like one of the things that guides my thinking on this is I read a book about Procter and Gamble, and it's called the P&G 99. And what it does is written by a former P&G executive who kind of wrote out the 99 principles that Procter and Gamble uses, when they're thinking about new markets and the way that they operate their business. And by the way, they're the most successful multi-brand business in the world. They have 23 individual brands that do more than $1 billion in sales. Wow. And so there's something to learn from that. And the three that, jumped out for me of the guiding principles that they have, the most instructive, were, number one, plan to dominate. And I thought, you can't even say those words without changing your physiology. Or you say those words and automatically you get a sense of confidence and a sense of purpose and mission around it. So you go into it not just thinking, hey, I wonder if we could get a little bit of this horse farm business. You go into it with the mindset of, we're going to dominate the horse farm market in Clackamas County. Mm-hmm. And so that, process there, thinking that way, is really a unique thing. Then the second principle that stood out for me from them was to create the very best product from the customer's perspective. So that's an interesting thing that when Procter and Gamble is going into a market, take laundry detergent as an example of the categories that they're in. It's not just laundry detergent. They've broken it down into the strata of the laundry market where they've got subsets. If you want to get your clothes as white as possible, they've got Tide. That's the whole purpose of Tide, right? And they've got whole teams of scientists and people just dreaming the day away, trying to figure out how to make clothes whiter. And that's their total focus. It's not about what's the most cost-effective way we can, or how can we make clothes sort of white, knowing that that's important to people. They look at approaching this from, even at great expense, what is the best way to make clothes whiter? We want to build the very best product if that's what they're interested in, And so you look at even just the way they approach that laundry detergent market. They've got Tide for people who want to get their clothes as white as possible. If you want to get tough stains out, you're going to go with Era. If you want to have your clothes smell great, they've got Sunlight. If you want to just throw it all in and not worry about it getting ruined, they've got Cheer, all temperature Cheer. Just throw it in and don't worry about it. So when you look at those things, all of those seem to compete with each other in a way, but they're all a viable sub-market of the laundry detergent market, So if we're taking, most, and you're in a great situation where you've got the combination of the mortgage and the real estate working together with your wife. That's a great combination, right? Because people are going to use both of them together. So you're taking this from, you've got a great solution for people, but rather than just coming into a situation and say, how can we just sell more homes in the greater Portland area? Casting that wide net, you've narrowed it down to Clackamas County, and within that, now we're looking at all the individual markets there, and we're saying we want to go on the higher end. Okay, so let's kind of look at the higher end and break that down into what have we got on the higher end, and homes with acreage is certainly one of those things. And then what would be a sort of passion-driven, seeking out something market would be horse farms, horse properties. So when you look at it, if we're saying now somebody looking for a horse farm, you've got a very specific audience there. We've got a great audience that we can attract here. And now the third thing that I learned from that book is to treat each brand as its own unique business. It's like we want to create now within this a unique situation just for horse farms, just for horse properties, right? And so you imagine that your Kurt Nielsen Procter & Gamble approach to this is that Kurt Nielsen and your wife are the Procter & Gamble, and now we're creating this $1 billion brand called Horse Properties in Clackamas. Okay, so when you look at that now, part of this will be fun to do the research for you. If you put your blinders on, as a horse metaphor here, put your blinders on and focus on what's the lay of the land for the horse properties here, right? What is the lay of the land? How many horse specific properties are there? And what was the total kind of yield from that market? I would imagine that if the prices are closer to that 800,000 or more sort of market, I would imagine that probably some of the higher end would even be horse properties with stables and an indoor riding arena, and they're really like tricked out. People with horse farms are very passionate about it,
Yeah. Very true.
So when you look at that now, we've got two sides of this market. First of all, we've got the people who own properties that would be horse property suitable, right? That are specifically set up for horses that already have stables, already have paddocks, already have riding arenas already have that kind of set up. They're purpose built for that. And then you've got properties that would be the perfect canvas to build a horse, develop into a horse property, you know?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so some people, they may not limit themselves to just the ones that already have that done, but they may want to have property so that they can get horses and build a horse property around it, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Got it.
So I think that then part of it becomes how do you create that? Now we did this great thing where if you're looking for an entry into that market, most of the time what people end up doing is having to you want to try and find listings so that you can get some of those horse farm buyers, right? It's kind of like the chicken and the egg kind of situation. And so, but I think it is let's do both, you know? So we've got in GoGo Agent, we've got a whole program called Getting Listings, which would fit perfectly for the horse farms here. So your first valuable thing that you're going to create is to identify the owners of the horse properties, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So if you take all of the properties that are specifically horse related properties, that would be an asset for you, because that would require a little bit of work, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so I think what you want to kind of look at is to just I love that you've kind of got the boundaries of Clackamas County kind of thing, if you say that, right? That you're going to be in certain parts of Clackamas, like not the parts that are closest to the city. That's probably not where the horse farms are, but the further you get away, it's like that. The further half of Clackamas is probably where the horse farms are going to be. So you've narrowed it in that way. But then you start to think, well, how many properties are there that have more than 5 acres or whatever would be the minimum viable kind of horse property, you know? And what are the bylaws, you know, how many horses can you have per acre or whatever, however they do that, you know?
Yeah.
And so some number of those, maybe it's 1,000, maybe it's 2,000, maybe it's 500. I don't know. Well, how many properties would you guess are more than 5 acres in Clackamas County?
Wow. 5,000.
Wow, that
big
many
county.
Properties.
That's a guess, but it's a big county. Yeah.
Yeah, I understand. And so that's great. I mean, if that's the truth, then that's a great thing. And maybe if you narrow it down of, you know, horse properties that are 10 acres, you know, or do you have 100-acre farms like the same?
Yeah, probably not many. You know, you're probably talking 20 acres is a pretty strong average.
Okay, that's great.
Yeah.
And so I think when you look at that, that's a pretty good part of it there, you know. Now, I'll continue like down this path of the horse property, because it could be, you know, just as easily applied to any target audience, you know, like you've seen it in action with first-time home buyers. I mean, that was what Bank Owned Weekly and the Tax Credit Guide were geared towards, right? We're trying to attract that segment of the market. And now times are good, and you want to get up into the higher price ranges. You want to focus on the people who are most interested in those kind of properties. So horse farms is certainly one way to wrap that around. Just like when we were talking, in Paradise Valley, it's all about the view homes, and in South Beach, it's all about the oceanfront condos, and with Kenny McCarthy up in north of Boston on Cape Ann, it's the waterfront properties. There are 900 and something oceanfront properties on Cape Ann, and that was Kenny's target market. So when we look at this, we want to now start identifying who owns the homes. So that's the basic inventory thing here. We look at it that we want to plan to dominate this. So part of that is going to be, we want to know who they are. We want to gather up our information. When we did it here in Winter Haven, we had to go through the process of individually looking at the tax records and the maps to find just the lakefront homes, so we could say this one, this one, this one, this one. So we had to kind of hand build the lakefront homeowner list, which was a little bit of an effort, but it's a phenomenal asset,
Yeah. I'm starting to put some things together here. I mean, just what you said. I mean, even getting off the horse farms. I mean, there's quite a bit of water around here. We could do a waterfront I'm following you. So suggestion is obviously whether we choose waterfront or horse farms.
Both of them you got me all excited about the horse farms now. But if you want to go waterfront, that's fine too.
We'll stick with horse farms for now.
Okay.
That sounds good. Yeah. So ID the horse farms. That's possible to do. ID in the waterfront would be a little easier, but it could be both. Okay. I'm with you.
Well, so how many waterfront are there? Lakes and are there good sized lakes that have homes on them?
Yeah. The Willamette River slices Portland and Clackamas County in half. There's a river that we live nearby, the Clackamas River, that runs obviously through Clackamas County. There's a lot of waterfront property out here.
Okay, great. So, well, let's switch gears and focus on that. Is that more interesting to you?
It is. We live actually on the river, so it's very interesting.
There
we can relate
so
to
you're
people
one of
and kind of. Yeah, exactly.
Okay. And so if people, that's the kind of thing that people would aspire to too, right? So they would say, I want to get a house on the river.
Yeah.
Okay. So are there lots of homes on the river? Would you say there's more than 1,000?
In Clackamas County, I would say close to 1,000. 500 to 1,000 wouldn't surprise me.
Okay, then you got a viable market there. So
you're thinking 1,000. You're thinking maybe if possible, try to get a market that has at least 1,000 is kind of what you're thinking.
Well, that'd be great because then it gets it's kind of exciting. I mean, you said there were 5,000 potential horse farms, or acreage properties. So it seems like a bigger market. But again, it's a separate thing. It's not, again, the context of how we're doing it here is applicable. So if we find the riverfront homes, would they be riverfront primarily? Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah, there's rivers and lakes, but it could be mainly riverfront, but there is some lakefront, but I would say, mostly riverfront. Yeah.
Okay. So now we've got our market of the people who live on the river, right? Who own the riverfront homes. That's knowable. And you've got to develop that list, right? So if you now took the time to compile that list from the tax records of the owners of riverfront homes, that's a valuable asset. And we can start with that as our approach. So the same way we did here in Winter Haven, we picked lakefront homes. And so you narrow that down, we get that list of those owners, and I would quickly kind of calculate what the turnover is and what the value is. Are the riverfront homes the most expensive? Are they in that higher end?
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay, perfect. And so when we look at it, you've got 1,000 riverfront homes, let's say, or if it's less, whatever the number is, and then you've got the historical data to show you how many of the riverfront homes sold in the last 12 months, to give you an idea of what the turnover rate is among riverfront homes. And that then will give you an idea of what the total yield of that market would be. So if we say that there's 1,000 of them, and when we did it in lakefront, there were just over 2,000 homes, 2,100, and there was about a 4% turnover rate. So 84 of the 2,100 homes sold in the last 12 months. But on average, the average commission of those was $10,000 or $12,000, right?
Yeah.
So yeah. So when we look at this, if you take the 1,000 homes, what would you say the price range would be on the riverfront? What would you guess would be kind of like entry level for the river, and what's the high end for riverfront?
I'd say entry level would be 500, and high end, closer to Portland, but still in Clackamas County, would be over $1 million.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So $1.5 million.
Perfect. And so that all counts. That's great. Now, once you've got that list together, the thing that we want to focus on is you want to know who among those 1,000 riverfront homeowners is going to be selling their house in the next 6 or 12 months, right? If you could wave a magic wand and know of the 1,000 riverfront homes, which ones are going to sell, that would be a valuable list to have, right?
Absolutely.
So we start that process by thinking like the seller, thinking like the person who owns that home and is thinking about selling this year, and just offering them the February 2017 report on Clackamas riverfront house prices.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
Right. That's like the person thinking about the person thinking about selling is really going to be curious about what their house would sell for as the first thing. That's usually the trigger thought, Yep. I wonder what my house is worth. How much can I get for my house? Right. That's going to guide any sort of planning that they're doing, because maybe they're going to move to a horse farm, or maybe they're going to move to a bigger house, or whatever it is. But the first thought is always, well, I wonder what my house is worth. I know the market's changing. You just said it's the fastest appreciating market, so they are probably curious about what they could get for their house. And this is an easy way for them to see what is happening on the riverfront. It's that horoscope effect. I wrote an email today about the horoscope effect. This idea that when you get a postcard and you're drawn to it, that this is the report on riverfront house prices. That's me. I own a riverfront house, right? I mean, it's like right there. We get that familiarity, and so that gets their attention, and then we're making it easy for them to raise their hand because all they have to do is go to Clackamas Riverfront PriceReport.com and download a copy of the February 2017 report. So we mail out that postcard, and people start raising their hand. Now we've got this list of people who are thinking about selling their house, Then we don't want to wait until we get a listing in there to start looking for buyers. We don't need their listing when it's a category like this, So we did what we've been doing even in the highest end markets. And I think it's smart to really, no matter what your market conditions are, to always look for how high is high, like what's the luxury end of the market, And so, imagine having an ad in the Homes and Land, and I've got an example of these ads on the GoGo Agent member blog for you that has, so we would run ads that would say, looking for a great lakefront house, read this. And it would be this beautiful picture of, the lake from a dock, like exactly what you would be looking for. The reason that you want a lakefront house is to sit on it and get that view,
Right. Yeah.
And so when you say that, then we would offer the free guide to Winter Haven lakefront house prices for buyers. Right? If you're thinking about buying a home on a lake in Winter Haven, then this guide will be very helpful. It shows you all of the different lakes, information about the lakes, how many homes are on the lake, what the houses sell for, all of those kind of things, that would be useful for a person looking for a lakefront home. So we could do that same thing for you, is looking for an amazing riverfront home in Clackamas. Read this. And you have a picture of what would be the iconic vision of what somebody's got in their mind with buying a house on a river in Clackamas.
Yes.
To use your own view, probably,
Yeah. No question. I love that. I love that idea. So when I'll be quiet. You go ahead.
Okay. So that now in Homes and Land, or in the Homes magazines, or in the newspaper, in the real estate section, and yes, I think that the most undervalued thing in real estate right now is print advertising. It's so everybody's thinking, got to get online, and it's true. But it's we're running so many print ads, it's crazy. We've got one specific print ad that we're doing with a reverse mortgage client that we're in 30 plus different Homes and Land publications all over the country, and running at a 12-to-1 ROI.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. So you look at it that the price on print advertising is going down. The attention is still there, in that people pick up. Do you have Homes magazines in your area?
We do, yes.
Yeah. And so people still pick them up, and as they're looking through, what makes this work is coming to this full page with this big picture of the ideal thing that riverfront person is looking for. Because you think about their mind, right? Somebody who's specifically got riverfront on their mind, they're looking through that Homes magazine, and all of the pictures are small of all of the properties, right? And they're having to adjust their gaze to look and see, is that riverfront? Is that riverfront? Is that riverfront? That one? Oh, is this one riverfront? They're kind of just scouring and to circle the ones that are riverfront or draw their attention to it. And then all of a sudden they turn the page and pow, here's exactly what they're looking for, just slapping them right in the face. The idealized version of what they're looking for and the gold mine of all of the information about the riverfront homes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love it.
And that is the most powerful thing that you can do. That's one of the things that's so great about real estate and mortgages is that the real estate, you can be a market maker. It's a transactional business. There's two sides of it. So you can, on the one half, be sending out the postcards to the riverfront homeowners saying, offering the free riverfront price report. And then you can, in the print publications, be running an ad full page looking for buyers for riverfront properties without, even though you don't have any riverfront listings. There's nothing stopping you from putting that, because you're saying to people, if you're looking for an amazing riverfront property in Clackamas, read this. And then you're describing that there's this many miles of shoreline and this many homes, and there's, just describing all of the elements of it, and that they can get the guide to Clackamas riverfront house prices. That's like exactly what I want.
Yeah, yeah.
So now they're raising their hand. Yeah. I always look at it that there was a Molson Canadian beer. They would run one of the most brilliant campaigns ever. Is they would run in men's magazines, or in a women's magazine, Cosmo magazine. They would run a full page ad in Cosmo with this dreamy looking model guy with the a sweater and the long blonde hair, and like a supermodel guy holding puppies in this field. And it would say his address, the intersection of masculinity and sensitivity, and his beer, Molson Canadian, and it had that logo there. That was it. Okay. Then the only reason they ran that ad was so that they could run an ad in the men's magazines that said hundreds of thousands of women pre-programmed for your convenience. And it said, basically, they showed a picture of the ad that they're running in Cosmo magazine and said, while you're reading this ad, hundreds of thousands of women are reading an ad that's scientifically designed to increase the attraction they feel to men who drink Molson. And all you need to do to activate this is order a Molson Canadian. And it was just so brilliant that they are thinking about their audience's desires and acting as their advocate, right? So they're running these magazines trying to increase the attraction that women feel towards guys that drink Molson. And then all they have to do is let the guys know that that's what they're doing. So we're doing that on a similar level, right? When you've got these homeowners who own these riverfront homes, and imagine you can say to these to the sellers, hundreds of riverfront home buyers pre-selected for your convenience. Because now you can go to a riverfront homeowner and say, listen, we started looking for the buyer for your house 180 days ago. Every month we run this ad in these publications, and we've generated, 550 people who have asked for and are on our Riverfront Weekly newsletter. You see how it all kind of fits together here?
Absolutely, I do. Absolutely, I do. Like I said, I kind of tend to overthink things a little bit, and I've been listening to your stuff for a long time, but to really put it into context like this when I'm really niching down this market is very exciting. Yeah, very exciting.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. I'm following you 100% here. So, now
you
that...
could do the same. You could do that same thing for horse farms. I was just describing it the way. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. Now, once we've got these people kind of in our funnel, so to speak, I mean, can you help us with maybe just a couple little extra ideas as far as what we can do to ensure that when the time is right for these people, that they're gonna contact us? I think you said it a long time ago. I think it was you. It was kind of like, you need to be thinking about this list of people that you have that, you've got to do everything in your power to get those people to contact you when the time is right for them, else you're going to lose a limb. I forget what it was, but it was an unpleasant deal.
That's what I said, like, imagine, and that's a great example. I said, because now, do you have any doubt that if you did that postcard program for the sellers and that print ad in the Homes and Land for looking for riverfront buyers, that you would be able to generate leads? Is there any doubt about that?
Absolutely none.
No
doubt.
So that you can generate the leads. Now we're into Profit Activator 3, which is about educating and motivating and then making offers, right? So you've already gone through the experience of the process of doing the bank-owned weekly when we were doing the Finding Buyers program. It's the same thing for the Riverfront, Riverfront Weekly. We were doing Lakefront Weekly, and that is the same. That's the same principle, that every week you're going to send them an email with updates of all of the new riverfront properties that have come on the market. And at the end of that email, you're going to say, whenever you're ready, here are 3 ways we can help you. And we're going to lead to the next step. Join us for a daily tour of riverfront homes. We do daily tours. You could even say by boat if you wanted to. Do you show riverfront homes by boat? Or, if you don't, you could potentially. I mean, if that's something people can do here in Fort Lauderdale or on the chain of lakes here in Winter Haven. But whatever it was, daily riverfront house tours. So you're saying, we do daily tours of riverfront homes at 10 o'clock and 1 o'clock. You can join us for a tour. Or you could just say Saturday or whatever dates you wanted to say, And the only thing, the purpose of that is just to make it easy for people who want to start the process of looking at homes to just say, you know what, let's jump on one of these tours, even though the tours are just you and them. Right? It doesn't have to be this big thing. You're just saying, this is where I have to get people. They have this perception of, well, I don't want to say a daily tour because I don't do tours every day or whatever. And, it's metaphoric, right? Like we're saying to people, if I called you today and said, hey, can you show me some riverfront homes tomorrow? Would your wife have time to fit that in?
Yeah, absolutely.
Of course. That's all we're saying, So we're making it easy there. Then what else would be the next thing, Are there some lenders who might not lend on waterfront homes, or are there some things that would be specifically related for financing waterfront homes?
Yeah, maybe if something was a manufactured home or if it was in a flood zone or something, but not, there wouldn't be too many restrictions, but I'm sure I could think of some.
Right now, I was just thinking about how to make, if there's something obscure about it, that there's that opportunity. Would there be any riverfront homes that would fall in the USDA areas?
Have to double check on the loan amounts. Maybe very few, but possibly. I mean, yeah, there definitely could be.
Right.
Yep.
And so you look at that, right, is like that could be another possibility. But the basic thing is that, even if you just said to people, whenever you're ready, here's how we can help you. Join us for a daily tour of riverfront homes, or they can get a free home loan report.
Yep.
And you could call it a free riverfront home loan report.
Yep.
That talks about that you monitor hundreds of different loan programs and find the very best low down payment loans, low interest loans, lowest total cost loans, and put all those findings together in a custom home loan report.
Mm-hmm.
So there's two things that people can get started with,
Surely could do a little weekly video, the Riverfront Home of the Week or something like that to send out.
Yes.
Yeah.
All of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That
Love
you
it.
become, it's like this is the best information available. Remember, it goes back to, let's look at our three principles. Number one, plan to dominate. So if you go into this and plan to dominate the riverfront properties, that's one mindset, right? So that means you're going to stick with it. That means you're going to look at this as a long-term thing. That means that you're going to realize that to dominate, you're going to put a little bit of effort into something like this, right?
Yeah.
Then building the very best product from the customer's perspective. What would be the very best thing that could happen to somebody searching for a waterfront property? And what would be the very best thing for somebody who owns a riverfront property that you've got a buyer,
Yeah.
Now, the great thing is, as you're sending out these postcards and you're generating leads, you're getting all these people to raise their hand, that's now an asset that nobody else has. Mm-hmm. We just found out, I don't know whether you saw this on the GoGo Agent members blog, that it posted up a thing about the Google Maps now, where you can export data to your Google map. And you could, when people respond for your report on riverfront house prices, you're going to get their address. You can export their address and put and create a special private, only for you, Google map that drops a pin on where their property is, so that you could look at the map and say, now you've got, here's the thing, now you've got this asset of these people, they're thinking about selling their house. And now when somebody from your buyer side decides to say, hey, we'd like to come on a tour of homes, that now you've got somebody who's looking for a riverfront home, and you're able to look at the inventory of the ones that are available right now, and then look at your map and say to somebody, hey, Nick, I'm showing riverfront houses to somebody this weekend, and they're looking at one just down the river from you. I'm not sure what your plans are, but I remember looking up your house online when I sent you the riverfront report, I thought maybe I'd check in and see if I could tell them about your house.
Mm-hmm.
You've got
Absolutely.
the thing that they really want, which is a buyer.
Yep. And they know you're on top of the market. Why wouldn't they list with you when they do decide? Absolutely.
Exactly. Yes.
It's beautiful. Yep. I love it. Can't wait to share all this with my wife.
Well, if only we recorded it.
If only we recorded it. So glad that we did. I've been taking notes here furiously. And I'm so glad we've got this recorded.
That's
Perfect.
So funny.
Perfect. Dean, you've been such a massive help to our businesses over the years. I really appreciate you having me on the call today. It's been a joy being a part of your email mastery course and getting a lot out of that. And when I signed up for being a guest on your More Cheese Less Whiskers here about 3 months ago, I thought, oh man, he's never going to get around to me. He's got so many other people. But I got an email from Lillian the other day that you wanted to have me as a guest, and I was tickled. So that's just awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're making our way through. We've got lots of people we want to be on, but it's your turn.
Oh, thank you so much. Hey, I've got one more quick question. It's a little bit off topic from where we were going here, but a while back you had mentioned something about somebody that you were working with that you guys did a type of an ad that was geared towards refinance for a mortgage broker. And I didn't know if it was something that you guys did as far as an ad on Facebook or something. Do you recall?
We did. So, well, I do a lot of work with Churchill Mortgage, which is a big mortgage company. They're the only only mortgage advertiser on the Dave Ramsey show. And one of the things that we did, Mike Hardwick, who's the owner of Churchill Mortgage, is good friends with Dave. And Dave went on a rant one day talking about why he couldn't understand why people haven't refinanced yet, right? Like why? Because rates have never been lower, and he was kind of going off on people saying, "Why haven't you refinanced yet?" And it struck me that the reason people hadn't refinanced is because most people don't know whether it makes sense. They don't know, and so I had Mike do a little conversation on camera with Dave, saying, I think, Dave, that the reason that people haven't refinanced yet is that they don't know whether it makes sense. So we put together a report for people called "How to Know When It Makes Sense to Refinance Your House." And it answers the questions and can show people exactly how it works and how to know whether it would actually even make sense for them to refinance. And they can get that for free at churchillmortgage.com. That was really the essence of how we did it. And, they've got a huge email database. And so we were able also to send out and offer people that report, how to know when it makes sense to refinance your house. And so when they would respond for that, then we would invite people to come on a webinar, presentation, and talk all about it, and then offer ultimately a home loan report, a refinance report, where we would say, let's compare your situation to what's available in the market right now, side by side, and see what the comparison would be. That's so much easier to ease their way into than just shouting at them, rates have never been lower, now's the time, refinance before the rates go up,
Yeah. No, that's beautiful. I remember you talking about that. I was trying to remember what you had called it, and that's perfect. That's what I was looking for. Thank you for that little extra bonus tip there.
There we go. All right. Well, Kurt, you said it all.
Dean, thank you for your help very much. Yeah, appreciate your time. Thanks again for all your help, and we'll talk to you soon. Thank you, Dean.
Thanks, Kurt. Bye-bye.
And there we have it. Another great episode of More Cheese, Less Whiskers. I love how enthusiastic Kurt is and how I have no doubt, I know for sure that he is an implementer because I've seen it happen. I've seen him take our bank-owned weekly and the tax credit guide program and just run with it and really build a successful operation around it. And so I've got no doubt that he'll be able to execute and apply those things. So here's how to keep the conversation going. If you're a real estate agent or a mortgage broker, right now, the very best thing that we can do for you is give you access to all of the tools that I talk about. I've got all of the programs specifically laid out for the real estate business at gogoagent.com. So we've got programs for getting listings, for finding buyers, for multiplying the listings that you already have, for getting referrals, for converting leads and finding buyers. So all of those things are already done and available in one easy to execute package, along with all of the tools that you need to do it. The landing pages, the autoresponders, the toll-free voicemail, the texting, the CRM, all of those tools all in one place. So you can come and see what we're all about. We offer a 30-day free trial, no credit card required. Come on in, just take a look around, see if this is for you. I know that if I can get you to look around, start implementing things for 30 days, that's going to convince you to at least try us for 6 months. And I know that after 6 months, your ROI will be so great that you'll never want to leave. So come on over to gogoagent.com and let's really build some amazing things for your real estate business. If you're listening into this as in a business other than the real estate business, all of the tools that we use are all built on my GoGo Clients platform at gogoclients.com. All of those things that I talked about, the landing pages, the toll-free voicemail, the autoresponders, the texting function, and the CRM are all available for you to create those landing pages, just like the ones that I use at emailmastery.com and 90minutebook.com. All of the autoresponder messages that I send out to you, if you're a subscriber, all come from my GoGo Clients platform. So it's really all of the tools that you would need to grow the before, during, and after units of your business. And I'd love for you to check that out. So if you're a real estate agent, gogoagent.com. If you're a small business, gogoclients.com. And of course, if you'd like to be a guest on More Cheese, Less Whiskers, you can go to morecheeselesswhiskers.com and click on the Be a Guest link, and we can hatch some evil schemes for your business. So that's it for this week. Have a great week. I will talk to you next time.